Hello, good evening. Welcome to WBS Prime News Live. I am Anita Mwangazi. Fast to look at the headlines.
We are saying that right now we need everybody who has this type of drone in their possession to come and report.
The Uganda government puts a ban on the importation of aerial drone cameras.
I think we shall not impose some sanctions. And that's what we have to do. Because we are doing the work and we are going to agree the legal realistic.
The Speaker of the Ugandan Parliament threatens sanctions on one of the cabinet ministers.
We are saying that there is a lot of HIV amongst fishing communities of this country, and we are trying to look for means of how can we help these societies who calm down the rate of transmission.
The AIDS Committee of Parliament is forging a way forward to save the lives of islanders.
Funds from Azam in form of sponsorship, and definitely we'll have to go ahead.
And in sports, Super League clubs threaten to close the second leg of the Azam Super League. Thank you for joining us. The Ugandan government has put a ban on the importation of aerial drone cameras in Uganda following intelligence security dossier to all security agencies that the country's security installation facilities risk a serious security danger should the importation be accepted. This followed the impounding of 25 aerial drone cameras at Entebbe International Airport that had been imported into the country. In this report, government has issued a directive to some Ugandans and some media companies with aerial drone cameras to register them with Uganda Revenue Authority and state security agencies.
The ban follows no clear guidelines on the usage of aerial drone cameras by importers to Uganda.
There is no clear regulation on how they should be used, and has become a security concern about their usage and the regulation. And right now, we are aware that the regulation that is there for aircrafts is not necessarily mandated to operate on drones. So we are saying that we need to have a clear regulation on how these drones can be operated and used.
Hence, this called for a ban on the importation.
Right now, there is no more importation. So if you try to bring in your aerial drone, we're going to impound it and it will be at your loss.
Namai said that following an intelligence security dossier to all government security agencies, it was established that aerial drone cameras were going to be a security threat to the country's key security installation facilities.
We are also very aware as Uganda that we have a terrorist threat that has been looming, and that we need to counter that terrorist threat. And these can also be used to pick information, both negative and positive. And if negative, it can really be very dangerous to the security of the country and also for those who are operating it.
They can direct it to where they want the bomb to be dropped. So that is how bad it is.
In the military, drones are used in situations where manned flight is considered too risky or difficult. They provide troops with a 24-hour eye in the sky, 7 days a week. Each aircraft can stay aloft for up to 17 hours at a time, loitering over an area and sending back real-time imagery of activities on the ground. Against this military usage of aerial drone cameras, here in Uganda, media companies and individuals with aerial drone cameras have been ordered to have them registered with Uganda Revenue Authority.
They must be regulated. It's not that somebody should just bring it in and take it out at will. And that's the reason why we are saying that right now we need everybody who has this type of drone in their possession to come and report.
At Entebbe Airport by press time, a sizable number of aerial drones cameras had been intercepted.
At the moment, we have already impounded several drones. We have about 5 already impounded and kept by aviation at the airport in Entebbe.
Aerial drone cameras are seen by many in the military as delivering precision strikes without the need for more intrusive military action.
Parliament has resolved not to handle business relating to any ministry until the sector ministers respond to all issues raised by members of Parliament during parliamentary debates. Speaker Rebecca Kadaga says the House has to come up with sanctions against ministers who persistently are caught off guard by questions relating to their sectors.
Parliamentary debates have over the years been bogged down by ministers who most times are caught off guard when pertinent issues about their ministries are raised by MPs during the question and answer time. The Speaker now says business regarding different ministries will be shelved unless the sector ministers clear their backlogs.
And the Minister of Education is aware of this question. And it's very, very urgent. So I'm wondering, the time they are really requesting, if this question will not be overtaken by the debate. So Madam Speaker, I would request that the Minister may answer on Tuesday.
On Wednesdays, when members have concerns, especially matters of national importance, it's very rare that the ministers come in time. We have tried to cope up with that. Right, Honourable Speaker, honestly speaking, is this government really in charge? No. How are we going to continue raising concerns that the front bench is comfortably occupying and they are not responding to our concerns? Can we possibly get a response from a leader of government business?
I'm so surprised, Madam Speaker, that this kind of question has come on the order paper. The ministers seem not to even be aware, probably, because if they were aware, they should have known that this question should have was coming on the order paper today.
I need to inform all of you that every week questions will be reflected on the order paper without notice, because they are all questions. And I know that the government chief brought all the ministers and gave me copies, asking them to answer these questions.
The Speaker now says a solution has to be found to curb the scenario that has seen most ministers skip parliamentary business or arrive late as questions continue to pile on their ministries.
I think we shall now impose some sanctions. And that's what we have to do. Because we are doing the work and we are going to deliver the respect. So, honourable members, let us proceed. Let us proceed to the next step. So, next, honourable ministers of education, next week we want answers to all these questions.
Recent days have seen a disconnect in cabinet, with uncoordinated information pouring out to the public and the doctrine of collective responsibility, the bedrock of cabinet business, going to the dogs. Yesterday at Mpigi, Trade, Industry and Cooperatives Minister Amelia Chamberlain broke down in tears over the poor state of a school in Mpigi, an action criticized by those who think she should have taken the initiative to address the matter in cabinet instead of shedding tears in public. Sabit Joseph, WS Television, Parliament.
Well, you're welcome to join this particular topic and this particular point of discussion. And tonight we ask, is the Speaker of Parliament right to impose sanctions on MPs who do not have information about their sector ministers when questioned? Is the Speaker of Parliament right to impose sanctions on ministers who do not want to explain policy statements of their dockets on the floor of Parliament? Feel free to add your thoughts to this discussion on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/WBSTV Uganda, and we'll discuss as we get along. Malaria remains the most tragic disease, accounting for 70,000 children's deaths every year, though it is preventable. Statistical data by the Ministry of Health indicates that 60% of pregnant mothers develop miscarriages due to malaria. 30 to 50% of the outpatients do make visits, while 15 to 20% are given hospital admission in Uganda.
Apart from causing illness and death, World Health Organization reports indicate malaria has an adverse effect on the economic growth of the country, as it consumes a substantial amount of the national budget, and 20% of an average family income is spent on treatment in the country. The State Minister for Health, Dr. Leoda Tumwesije, says that despite government commitment to reduce the burden of the disease on the moderate population, there is still inadequate funding to cater for the National Malaria Strategic Plan.
The government aspires to achieve a malaria-free population by 2020, leading to enhanced productivity and socio-economic growth. I think you will match up to this. By 2020, no malaria in Uganda.
The Mission Director, USAID, Leslie Reed, says Uganda has been able to make significant strides towards reducing its prevalence, elimination of malaria through universal mosquito nets distribution campaigns, indoor residue spraying, and mass sensitization through the Stop Malaria program.
Malaria accounts for 40% of all outpatient visits, 25% of hospital admissions, and 14% of all hospital deaths. We also know that malaria-related complications in pregnancy lead to reduced neurocognitive function in the child, which can inevitably lead to lower educational attainment, hampers literacy, and damages long-term health and productivity.
Catherine Chime Mukwakwa, the chief party Stop Malaria program, says the program has seen a successful coordinated malaria programming, policy formulation, strengthened systems of over 25,505,951 insecticide-treated mosquito nets distribution. Amalan Zmak, WBS Television.
Following the Speaker's directive to the Leader of Government Business and the Leader of Opposition to report back to Parliament next week on the progress of the controversial marriage and divorce bill that was shelved from the order paper of Parliament early last year during to differing opinions. Tonight, we take an insight into the fears and controversies surrounding this bill. And now in this report, we spoke to Sheila Kawamara, the chairperson of Uganda Women's Network.
In an interview with the chairperson of Uganda Women Network, Sheila Kawamara, about the stalled and controversial marriage and divorce bill, she claims that saboteurs of the bill are polygamists with vested interests and wield political powers.
The marriage and divorce bill is not being felt because of its content or what is contained in the bill. It is individual perspectives, particularly from men who are illegally polygamous. These are men already in monogamous families. They tend to think that the official wife will disadvantage their other illegal or unknown wives in case when it comes to property sharing.
The Women Network claims from the onset the bill was mishandled by MPs.
We have parliamentarians that do not know what is contained in the bill, and I saw the same parliamentarians busy confusing Ugandans about what is contained in the bill.
But does the 9th Parliament have the capacity to handle the bill?
The 9th Parliament is not the right parliament to be coming out to talk about this bill, because we already know their position. They made it very clear that this was a law that they could not handle. Many of them have questionable qualifications, maybe, or they are deciding to play that they do not understand. I'm not so sure that they have now the capacity to handle it.
In spite of the controversies, the women want the bill to be tailored in reference to the law of contract.
People who know the law of contracts know clearly that when you enter a contract, the contract may be good or it may be bad. And that is one of the challenges that people don't want to talk about. And some more Christian people have said, if a marriage is conducted in churches, then why do
instances in search of clean water, but this will be no more. Several areas in Rakai district have been affected by drought, with residents having had time to get clean and safe water for their animals and for domestic use. The residents have been relying on springs and wells, some of which have dried up due to drought. Commissioning the project, the minister in charge of water and environment, Ephraim Kamuntu, cautioned residents against mishandling the water system, saying to go a long way in improving livelihoods in the area.
Solve poverty problem, you want to solve domestic violence. What you want to do is to emphasize water coverage. You will see positive improvement. Absolutely. Once the water coverage is improving.
But the leadership in the area is concerned that the population in the area is too big and the demand for water is too high. They want government to construct more water sources in the area to improve on the water coverage.
Now, the casket of Assistant Inspector General of Police Julius Shalita arrived at Entebbe International Airport at about midday and was handed over to the Assistant Inspector General of Police and relatives. Julius Shalita passed away last week in the U.S., where he was assigned. The cause of his death is said to be cancer, which became acute due to the weather conditions in the U.S. Now, the body is at his home in Zambia after the post-mortem at Mulago Hospital. We bring you a report now.
A night vigil and receive his body to his home where his family is going to be ready and waiting. We're also going to proceed in the morning, which is going to be tomorrow, Friday the 20th, to All Saints Church Nakasero at 9, where we'll hold a funeral service to hold prayers. From midday, we'll be free to proceed to his home in Mitoma, Chankwe, where his body will be laid to rest on 21st Saturday between midday and 3:30.
May his soul rest in eternal peace. We now move and revert to our opinion poll question. And tonight we ask, is the Speaker of Parliament right to impose a sanction on ministers who do not want to explain policy statements of their dockets on the floor of Parliament? Here are some of your thoughts. Asimwe Simon Peter, you say, the ministers were accorded the front bench to enable them to always provide adequate and timely responses to issues regarding their various dockets. If they cannot perform their duties and responsibilities, then the Speaker is right to put them to order. Ogwok Morris Hesketh, you say, no, we don't need anything from Parliament. Well, strange comment there. To the Areva Robert, you say you think the Speaker is making a big mistake? World Health Organization says malaria disease remains a tragedy in spite of efforts to fight it.
Do you recall the last time garbage in your neighborhood was collected? Have you ever experienced garbage spillage trails along your road? Now that will be history. Spear Motors brings you a hygienically safe and labor-efficient garbage compactor truck. Unlike ordinary garbage trucks, this garbage compactor truck completely covers the waste and carries 20 tons of garbage. There is 0% spillage and much fewer trips to the dumping site. The garbage compactor truck is a self-loader. Only 2 men are required for the whole operation. Local authorities and private garbage collectors, the garbage compactor truck is now available at Spear Motors, Nakawa.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
You're still watching WBS Prime News Live. Welcome back. The national chairman of the Association of Albinos in Uganda, Hassan Molondo, has revealed in an exclusive interview with WBS TV that albinos in Uganda have started dying of a skin cancer resulting from the lack of sun cream that helps albinos not to absorb so much heat from the sun, and this has affected so many, leading to the deaths of some. Molondo says that in December last year, they lost about 5 albinos who couldn't afford the sun cream Vaseline, and they ended up suffering from a skin cancer
of their body unless they smear themselves with a son who riches seems to be switching to Uganda. According to Mulondo, the reasons for the switch are similar. Earlier this year, the Tanzanian government announced a ban on witch doctors in a bid to hold attacks on the country's albino population, whose members have been maimed and murdered for sorceresses.
We continue with this discussion. People living with disabilities have petitioned the Gender Committee of Parliament seeking for more amendments in the PWD's Act of 2006 and the PWD's Bill 2014. In Leveled Ground tonight, our interactive news segment, Timothy Sibasi engages the Program Officer of Africa People Living with Disabilities on what they seek to achieve with this petition. Over to you, Timothy.
What night on the Leveled Ground? With me on the set is none other than the Program Officer of Africa, Disability Human Rights. Yes. Well, thanks, Mehdi, for joining me on this special interactive news segment where we discuss issues that affect the people.
Thank you, too, for the
Now,
invitation.
I understand that today you have presented a petition to the Office of the Speaker. What is this petition all about?
We're trying to respond to the bill which came from the cabinet, and we thought it does not actually meet the standards of what we need as people with disabilities. This bill is seeking to amend the Persons with Disability Act of 2006. But then initially in the 2006 bill, the main contentions were that actually it never met standards that were required of a good law. Issues like, for example, a disability fund, where we would need that fund, for example, would help us find wheelchairs, find hearing aids, find, for example, walking sticks, things that are accessories to people with disabilities but are so urgent and needed. The bill, for example, forgets to speak about there's this new component which we call reasonable accommodation, and it's coming from the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, which Uganda has signed to. And this principle means that at least you should create an environment that enables me to benefit on an equal basis with others.
So now, what do you need to be addressed in what you intend to move on the floor of Parliament?
So what we need Parliament to address is to have the lived experience in practice. They should legislate bearing in mind our needs as opposed to them thinking about the financial implications. They should legislate, or they should come up with a bill that responds to the challenges in the field of education, challenge, for example, accessing classrooms, basic things like accessing toilets in schools, basic challenges like accessing employment, basic challenges, for example, to do with basic health care. People have been talking about beds which are not accessible to us, testing centers, for example. You go for an HIV test and then you're tested in a corridor, like it happened to me one time. You wait for your results. So we wanted the bill to have the law that has that feel.
How have you managed to address the issue of HIV/AIDS with people living with disabilities? Because we do understand that I believe that should be a big challenge to you guys.
Of course, it's a challenge. Like I told you, I did my first HIV test in a corridor of a hospital because the lab had a very small entrance and I could not go in. I at one point did a urine test in one of the wards, not a toilet, not a bathroom, because the doors are very small. So that discourages you from going back to test again. I got my results in an envelope. They told me to wait for the next doctor and move in with my results to tell me whether I'm positive or negative. So those are the simple things that we think the legislators should actually look into before they come up with the legislation, only bearing in mind the cost implications. Of course, there are other factors incidental to that. We are about 6 million people, as per the recent census. People with disabilities are voters, but they are also taxpayers. But also for me, the biggest tenet in this is that they should look at creating a legislation that should empower people to live independent, give them the best quality education. For example, I was trained as a lawyer. I work independently. I earn money. So I don't need actually to receive health care necessarily from government because I can be able to afford that.
Do you think that this government is taking some of your issues that you have put on table very seriously?
I think to some extent, yes, but to a large extent, I don't think so. Because the responses we seem to get are always coming. They're always coming back and forth with the same issues. We try to make proposals, but then I don't seem to see meaningful reactions to each of the points that are being proposed. The only reaction that comes out is that, oh, this is going to be very expensive to implement.
Well, the other thing is that because now we are having a mixture of two acts.
Yes.
We have the one of 2006, and we are also having the one of 2014,
yes,
so to speak. What's wrong with the recent one of 2014?
What is wrong with the 2014 bill, which is not yet an act, is the fact that, one, it takes away the protections that were given to us in 2006. For example, most of the commitments, let's say around education, around employment, which already exist in the 2006 law, are taken away. But also the most salient issue is that now they've narrowed it into what they call a discrimination law. So it's only trying to protect people with disabilities against discrimination. But if you look at the Constitution of Uganda, discrimination is just one article. But we also enjoy all the other rights to education, to employment, to privacy, to access justice. So if it passes the way it is, then your responsibility will be not to discriminate people with disabilities, and all that is done.
I would like to know from you, has it insulated that area of discrimination?
I still think there are a number of things that are lacking. For example, I hinted on that technical word called reasonable accommodation, which means, for example, if you're hiring me, then you should make arrangements. For example, if I need a support person, for me to have a support person in the work premises. If you're hiring me and you have a building like this and you have a bathroom, you should make arrangements that I should be able to access the bathroom as well. That is an element. But then when you look at the kind of discrimination that is described in the current bill, it also still misses out on those key tenets which actually would make different legal provisions disability friendly or disability related.
Are you still being seriously discriminated, let me say, in terms of job opportunities?
Of course, when you look at, for example, education, I can speak to that. Recently, last year, UNICEF produced a report which indicates that we have about 2.5 million children who have disabilities, but about 9% of those are in school. So that would be about 1,000 out of 2.5 million children. We all remember we have universal primary education. But even with that, and then the special priority which is seemingly provided to children with disabilities, it is just 9%. And then when you look at figures at O-level, how many get to O-level? They come down to 4%. How many graduate? Probably it could be 1%. So that means probably out of the 2.5 million children we have who have disabilities now, 10, 20 years from now when they graduate, we might have about 2. That is significantly so low.
But there is a Ministry of Gender where you fall.
Yes.
Do you have a special desk there to attend to issues of PWDs?
I think the underlying challenge within the ministry, including the National Council for Disability, which is also a government organ, is I think limitations in funding. They have a lot of work. They are serving over probably 6 million people in this country, but then their budgets are usually so constrained. The National Council has to monitor all other organs, all the work that is going on in Uganda to find out whether or not it's compliant to, or it's serving people with disabilities, but are they well funded?
Thanks, Mehdi, for joining me on this special interactive news segment, The Level Ground, where we host people of sound mind like you. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Load the airtime knowing it's easy. You get it all back with Chizzy. All the airtime you spend, Chizzy. At the end of the month, Chizzy.
1K, 2K, 5K, Chizzy. 10K, 20K, 30K. Chizzy. Airtime you spend is funded. Talk on top with Chizzy.
Chicho.
Uganda Telecom's got something.
Get back
Track your airtime with Chize from Uganda Telecom. Dial *100#, select Chize and get the total amount you spend in a month refunded. This refund can be used for calls and SMSs to all networks for the next 30 days from Uganda's most affordable telecom service. Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
I cherish children because they're important in our country. I show interest in what they do, I listen to what they say, so as they aspire to be the best, respecting children teaches them how to respect others.
You see, a good school equals to a better life. Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
This is for the magicians, the ones who make sure you and I are fresh and clean all day long. Amidst all challenges, they toil to make us shine. Every single day, they apply their magic to give us more than we've ever dreamt of. Magic that appeals to our senses. Magic so motherly that little angels can't resist. Only they can do this magic. Magic that makes a big job easy and fun. Buy White Star Magic Premium at any shop or supermarket near you and feel the magic of all day fresh clean.
White Star Magic.
Welcome back to WBS Prime Business. Poor management, poor infrastructure, and duplication have for so long derailed cross-border trade. But all this seems to be coming to an end with the completion of the one-stop border post at Malaba, where all departments involved with cross-border trade, including immigration, Uganda Revenue Authority, health inspectors, will all have representation. The project is funded by the World Bank, Trademark East Africa, and the government of Uganda, and it has cost over 15 billion Uganda shillings.
Trade across East Africa has for so long been derailed by the delays at border posts, given the lack of infrastructure to accommodate officials responsible for the inspections required to ease the flow of imports and exports. Added to this has been the sheer incompetence and duplication by officials. Fortunately, the tide seems to be changing, according to Richard Kamajugo, the Uganda Revenue Authority Commissioner in charge of the Customs Department.
The delays in the cross-border clearance have to a large extent been attributed to duplication and handling procedures on either side of the borders. This has further been complicated by a combination of other factors like poor institutional arrangements, cargo management system, inadequate physical infrastructure, and services required for cross-border cargo and immigration management.
Uganda, that used to be 18 days away from the coast, is now 4 to 5 days away. And improvements of border infrastructure and procedures have been a major contributor to this reduction of distance, I should say.
It is now thought the completion of the border post at Malaba, which will host officials from all licensing and inspection departments, will ease the flow of trade.
The bank's objective is to facilitate trade amongst the East African countries and to facilitate movement of mostly freight and people across the borders.
But if Uganda's economy is to grow, Kamajugo says this will start with ensuring faster clearance of goods at border points.
The global trade landscape has changed, and the private sector is more sensitive to costs, both in terms of money and in terms of time. And as a result of these changes, the customs operations now focus more on improving facilitation without compromising customs controls.
Down the road, we've been working closely with the KRA, with the URA, and all the other government agencies to try and bring this down, and also talking to the operators. And now I'm told that within 3 to 4 hours, you have your goods cleared now into Uganda.
The World Bank, however, condemns the delayed start of the project implementation as Uganda lags behind the other East African countries in the construction of the one-stop border posts at all the border points. The construction of the Malaba one-stop border post has cost over 15 billion shillings, financed by the World Bank, Trademark East Africa, and the government of Uganda. This is part of a regional project being implemented in the East Africa member states of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, with the aim of promoting trade and transport facilitation in the region.
That's the business. Stay with us now here for the latest in sports.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Wava Water, my choice.
Welcome back to WB's Prime Sport. Super League clubs threaten to close the second leg of the Azam Super League if Azam TV is stopped from playing live. The league match is set to kick off on Friday at different grounds. This follows Tuesday's stoppage of Azam TV from filming a match at Nachivubo Stadium involving SC Villa and Sadolin, where a court injunction was put in practice as requested by Uganda Super League and Super Sport.
Of the 16 Super League clubs, only 13 attend the crisis meeting at Hotel Africana, where Simba Police and Bright Stars missed. However, after a closed meeting, the media were briefed with the resolutions, including no Azam, no Super League. Clubs intend to put a halt on the league if Azam TV is denied the right to live tomorrow's Super League matches. Tom Omongole, one of the club representatives, intimated to the media that Super League have already petitioned the Minister of Sports and Education, Jess Kalupo, to solve the pending squabbles in the Uganda Top Flight League.
If Azam does not broadcast the matches, because that's the contracts that we have, that's the social contract, inherently we have to, it's implied on us to do our contractual obligation. These people, most of the clubs received funds from Azam in form of sponsorship, and definitely we will have to go ahead to play with Azam.
I think, yes, that's the right way, because one, we agreed and went into contract with Azam. So I don't think it is wise to leave or to run out of this contract when we are still in business with them.
In order to sort out the media rights, Super League clubs are petitioned to the International Broadcasting Rights Commission based in Switzerland. For the clubs which are still dealing with Uganda Super League, they have been urged to denounce the company and join the mainstream, where the 16 clubs are urged not to double stand but opt for only Azam TV. On Tuesday, Azam TV was stopped by security personnel from telecasting Villa versus Sadolin match, though they had already set up all the equipment. Earlier, court had directed that the laying of the Super League matches can only be effected after third match court ruling. Frank Sirugo, WSTV, Kampala.
The under-23 team safely reaches Maputo, Mozambique, ahead of their Saturday tie against hosts in the ongoing All-Africa Games Qualifier 2015. Speaking before the team's departure on Thursday morning at Entebbe Airport, the team's coach Micho indicated signs of confidence in his team, saying they are out for good results in Maputo. We bring you the highlights of the team's departure.
We believe that at present this is the best of the best that we could offer on local level. But in the same moment, we have left players of Ure and KCC back, having in mind that they are having very tough challenges in inter-club competition, CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup. And they're having good chances, and we wish them all the best.
Indeed, we wish them all the best. The 2015 Uganda International Badminton Championship gets underway at Lugogo MTN Arena with over 70 foreign players taking part. According to the tournament organizer Simon Mugabe, this year's event is anticipated to be more competitive compared to the previous tournaments.
The four-day event kicked off with a number of primary games played today at MTN Arena, with big games set for tomorrow. According to tournament organizer and national team coach Simon Mugabe, the 8th edition seems competitive compared to the previous event.
This tournament, 2015 Uganda International, is very, very, very strong and has been very wonderful. The entries have been very massive. We have got over 70 foreign players in this tournament, and this one has made us to have what we call reserves. 32 players in reserves never had the chance to even to enter into the qualifiers.
Mugabe added that 70 foreign players are taking part with a reserve of 35. This indicates the level of competition headed towards the local players participating.
I know players have prepared very well, because since 2 months now, they have been using feather shuttlecocks, which has been a problem in the previous years. But as of now, they have been getting in touch with the shuttles, so they have no complaint on that.
He, however, added, local players are up to the task as they have had enough time to prepare for the tourney. Foreign countries taking part include Italy, Nigeria, Burundi, Rwanda, Mozambique, and others. Frank Sirugo, WSTV, Lugogo.
That's the sports. Stay with us now for a summary of today's news.
More and more people are thundering on OLX. So what are you waiting for? Download the OLX app for free and start selling.
OLX, everything sells.
Spear Motors' special Mercedes-Benz C-Class service promotion is here. The scope of work includes oil and oil filter change, quick diagnostic test and printout, fluid levels checks, air cleaner check, and basic electrical checks. From only 287,000 shillings, VAT inclusive. This promotion ends on 5th March 2015. For details and appointments, call customer care on 0417 705 724 or email customercare@spearmo.ug. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Musa, your travel agent. I'm taking you around Africa, our motherland, a land gifted with beauty that flows right from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Our first destination will be Rwanda, a land of hills and beautiful ladies. Then Tanzania, the home to the great Kilimanjaro mountain. And Kenya, the Masai Mara home. If I may ask, anyone with more exciting sights?
Movitable jelly and Movitable soap.
That shows her love for quality African-made products. In fact, I move with Movit Herbal Jelly too.
My friends and I at Campus all use Movit Herbal products. As in, I even carried mine.
To have a good service, I first bathe with Movit Herbal soap.
See, I gave the right answer. Even at home we use Movitable gel and Movitable soap. Me too.
Movit. All day confidence.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Movitable jelly. Movit is amazing. Movitable jelly. Movit is the best. Movit, all the confidence.
In our news summary, the Uganda government puts a ban on the importation of aerial drone cameras into the country. The Speaker of the Uganda Parliament threatens to slap sanctions on cabinet ministers who remain ignorant of policy statements. The AIDS Committee of Parliament is forging a way forward to save the lives of islanders dying of HIV. Albinos in Uganda risk extinction. Medical experts in the World Health Organization condemn the malaria killing more people. And in sports, Super League clubs threaten to close the second leg of the Azam Super League if Azam is stopped from streaming live.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Movitable jelly. Movit is amazing. Movit is the best. Movit, all the confidence.
Thank you so much for your great company. Unfortunately, time will not allow for more discussion on our opinion poll question, but keep the conversation going on Facebook. I am Anita Mwangazi. Good night.